The bank message on my phone made me feel like the floor had gone away. Someone in Dubai charged my card $35,000. While I ate old bread in the kitchen to save money on dinner, my son Michael drank champagne with his in-laws in a fancy pool. To make sure you don't miss any of our daily news stories, please subscribe and click the bell icon. Do us a favor and let us know where you are in the comments. My name is David Miller. I'm 65 years old and haven't had a wife in 7 years. In 2017, my wife Sarah died after a long fight with cancer that left us both emotionally and financially broken. Since then, I've been living off of my $1,120 a month pension, which I take very good care of. It's important to save every penny when you live alone and no one to help you. It was around 4 p.m. on March 15, 2024, Tuesday. In my small kitchen, I had a weak cup of coffee and a piece of bread from the day before that I had smeared with cheap margarine. This was something I did for months. Spend as little money as possible. Get only what you need from the grocery store that costs the least. Walk instead of taking the bus. I didn't say anything. I knew how to live with less and find peace and simplicity. My phone buzzed with that sure sound that lets you know you have an important message. It was my bank's message. Keep an eye out for a strange transaction. Get in touch with us right away. For a second, my heart stopped. That was the first time in my life I got something like that. I shook my hands as I called the number on the screen. There was a professional voice on the other end of the line who needed to talk quickly. This is Caroline Moore from the Chase Bank Security Department. My name is Mr. Miller. A lot of charges that happened on your credit card in the last 24 hours need to be looked into. Are you in Dubai now? Dubai of the United States. Dubai. It was like a sound from far away that kept coming back to me. Not at all, I'm in Chicago at home. How much does it cost? What do you mean? Caroline took a short break and then spoke again, this time in a more serious tone. Mr. Miller, since yesterday afternoon, there have been a number of deals. It adds up to $35,240. The price includes 4 Emirates Airlines first-class tickets, an 8-night stay at the Burj Al Arab Hotel, and extras at high-end spas and restaurants. $35,000. It felt like the room was spinning around me. That was almost 3 years' worth of my pension. I had carefully saved all of my money for medical emergencies after Sarah died. It had been my only safety net since then. That's not going to work. That wasn't okay with me in any way. I have my card with me. My hands were shaking as I looked through my wallet. The charge card was in the same place it always is. I thought of something that made my blood run cold, though. 3 months ago, my son Michael came to see me. After getting married to Nicole Sanders Price 4 years ago, he had less and less of these strange visits. Back in December, Michael was really kind and helpful. Because you never know when something bad might happen, you should give your bank information to someone you trust. Please let me write down your card numbers in case I need to help you right away. He talked like a fool when he made his point. It made a lot of sense and showed real concern. I gave him my credit card number, the amount of money left on it, and even the security code. Dad, it's just for your own safety. I will only use it if I have to. I promise. I could hear his words in a very different way now. Marked by the worst betrayal. Caroline's voice brought me back to the present. Mr. Miller, are you still there? We need to get going right away. Do you know about these deals, or do we need to believe they're fake? Putting together the pieces of a terrible puzzle was making my mind race. Michael knew what my card number was. In the past few years, Michael had grown farther away from her. He was always in a hurry and only came to see me on Christmas and my birthday. Michael now spends every weekend with Mark Sanders and Linda Price, his in-laws. On social media, he posts pictures of dinners at restaurants where I couldn't even afford the starters. Give me a moment, please, I asked Caroline as I opened the WhatsApp application with shaking hands. I looked for the last conversation with my son. The last message was from Sunday, 2 days ago. Dad, I'll be out of town for a few days for work. I'll call you when I get back. Nothing unusual. Nothing to suggest he was about to steal the equivalent of 3 years of my life. But then I saw his WhatsApp status updated just 2 hours ago. When I opened it, the world stopped completely. It was a photograph taken from a spectacular infinity pool with the Dubai skyline shining in the background under the desert sun. In the center of the image was Michael, tanned and smiling with a glass of champagne in his hand. Beside him, Mark and Linda Sanders posed with expressions of absolute satisfaction. Also with sparkling glasses. All three wore luxurious bathrobes with the Burj Al Arab Hotel logo embroidered on them. But what completely destroyed me was the text over the photo. They deserve a vacation. You don't. Those 5 words contain more cruelty than any direct insult. My own son, the person I had carried in my arms as a baby, the one whose college education I had paid for by working double shifts at the factory. The one who had cried on my shoulder when his mother died. That same son had stolen from me and then mocked me for it. Mr. Miller. Caroline's voice interrupted my shock. I need your answer. Are these authorized transactions? I looked at the photo again, Michael raising his glass to the camera, his in-laws laughing, the obscene luxury of that hotel that costs thousands of dollars a night, and me sitting in my kitchen with stale bread and cheap margarine, trying to stretch every dollar of my miserable pension. Something inside me broke in that moment. It wasn't immediate rage. It was something colder, more final. It was the death of any illusion I had held on to about my relationship with my son. No, my voice sounded strangely calm. Those transactions are not authorized. They are fraudulent, and I know exactly who made them. Caroline kept me on the line while she processed the fraud report. Every second felt like an eternity as I listened to the typing on her computer. My brain began to trace the path that had brought me to this moment of absolute betrayal. Michael was born in 1986. When Sarah and I were barely 25, it was a difficult pregnancy with complications that required complete bed rest for 6 months. I worked 12 hours a day at the Hernandez & Sons textile factory to cover the additional medical expenses. I remember perfectly how I came home exhausted every night, but I always found the energy to massage Sarah's swollen feet and talk to her belly about the dreams we had for our son. When Michael finally arrived on August 27th, weighing just 5.5 pounds, he spent 3 weeks in an incubator. The hospital bills piled up, but I never hesitated to pay every cent. He was my son. I would make any sacrifice necessary. During his childhood, Michael was a bright and loving boy. He got excellent grades without apparent effort. Teachers always commented on his natural intelligence and his ability to solve complex problems. Sarah and I were proud. We dreamed he would go to college, something neither of us had been able to do. But college was expensive. Incredibly expensive. When Michael was accepted into the University of Chicago to study business administration in 2004, the annual cost was $6,000 for tuition, books, and transportation. My salary at the factory was barely enough to keep the household running, so I did what any father would do. I got a second job for 4 years. I worked at the factory from 6 in the morning until 2 in the afternoon and then as a night security guard at a shopping mall from 8 at night until midnight. I slept in fragments. I ate poorly. I aged 10 years and 4. But Michael graduated with honors in 2008. The day of his graduation. When I saw him in his cap and gown, I felt that every lost hour of sleep had been worth it. Sarah prepared a special dinner that night with her secret savings. Roast chicken, potatoes, her famous custard. Michael hugged us both, crying with happiness, promising that he would repay us for every sacrifice, that he would take care of us when we were older. You are the best parents in the world. I will never forget what you've done for me. Promises are easy when you're young, and the future shines with infinite possibilities. Michael got a job at a business consulting firm 3 months after graduating. His starting salary was $1,800 a month, a fortune compared to what I earned after 30 years at the factory. I was so proud of him. He started visiting us every Sunday for lunch. Always bringing a small gift, wine, sweets, flowers for his mother. Everything changed when he met Nicole in 2019 during a business conference in Seattle. She worked in marketing for a major firm. She came from a wealthy family from the Gold Coast in Chicago. Her parents, Mark and Linda, owned 3 luxury car dealerships. They lived in a 2,000 cubic-foot apartment worth over $1 million. The first time Michael told us about Nicole, I noticed a change in his tone. It wasn't my son talking about a girl he liked anymore. It was someone impressed, almost intimidated by the world she belonged to. Her family has important connections, Dad. Nicole's father knows half of Chicago. This could be very good for my career. When we finally met the Sanders family at a formal dinner at their house a month later, I understood that we had lost our son. The house was a museum of wealth. Original paintings on the walls, furniture that cost more than our entire apartment, a wine cellar that Mark bragged was worth over $50,000. During that dinner, Linda asked me what I did for a living. When I explained that I worked in a textile factory, her expression changed subtly. She didn't say anything rude, but the way she exchanged glances with her husband said it all. Their daughter was dating someone from a lower class. Michael married Nicole in July 2020. The wedding was at the Drake Hotel, paid for entirely by the Sanders. When Mark announced during the toast that they had spent $80,000 on the celebration, I felt a mix of awe and sadness. We had offered to contribute $5,000 from our savings, but Mark refused the offer with a condescending smile. "Don't worry about it. This is the least we can do for our princess." After the marriage, Michael's visits became sporadic. First, he stopped coming every Sunday, then every 2 weeks, then only on special occasions. He always had excuses. Work meetings, social commitments with the Sanders, weekend trips. Sarah noticed, but she didn't say anything. I saw her cry silently several times when another Sunday passed without our son showing up. "Give him time, David. He's building his life and his marriage. It's normal for him to see us less." But I knew it was something more. It wasn't just time or physical distance. It was an emotional distance, a silent rewriting of who was important in his life. When Sarah got sick in 2016, Michael came to the hospital 3 times in 8 months. 3 times. His mother was dying and he was too busy with his business dinners and his weekend getaways with the Sanders. I vividly remember a phone conversation 2 weeks before Sarah passed away. "Son, your mother asks for you every day. The doctors say she only has a few weeks left. Could you come tomorrow?" There was a long pause. "Dad, you know I want to be there. But Mark organized an important meeting with potential investors. It's crucial for my promotion. I'll come on the weekend. I promise." He didn't come that weekend. He arrived 2 days after the funeral with Nicole and his in-laws. During the wake, I heard Linda comment to a friend, "What a shame. So young." But Michael no longer has to worry about these things, so he can fully focus on his future. "Do you worry about anything?" That's what she called my wife's death. Michael quickly hugged me after the funeral. "Dad, I'm sorry. I'm sorry I wasn't there for you more often, but I will be now. I promise." Another promise that was made but never kept. I saw him about 15 times over the next 3 years. Each time, the visit was short and rushed, and Nicole was waiting in the car. But his social media accounts showed a very different side of his life. Having dinner at the Sanders house once a week, taking vacations in the Hamptons with them, and celebrating Christmas in their professionally decorated mansion. In September 2023, 6 months ago, I saw a post that made my heart hurt. Mark's big day had come. Michael had written, "Happy birthday to the best father-in-law and second dad anyone could wish for. Thank you for teaching me so much about success and family. Second dad," as if I had been replaced, and now this. He had then robbed me by spending 8 days of luxury money I had saved up over years of hard work. It was going to the same people who took him away from me and let him write. They need a break. You don't like the picture of him betraying you. "Hey, Mr. Miller." Caroline talked once more. "I have temporarily blocked your card and am now investigating the fraud. Do you want to file a formal complaint against the person who did it?" One more time, I looked at the picture on my phone. While I chewed on old bread, my son drank champagne. "Yes." My voice was cold. "There's a problem, and I want all of my money back." After I hung up with Caroline, I looked at that picture on my phone for almost an hour in the kitchen. I felt hurt by the smug looks, the obvious wealth, and the obvious ridicule. But before I could decide what to do next, I had to know for sure what my son did with my money. When I opened my banking app, my hands were shaking. Though the transaction page only took a second to load, I felt like someone had punched me in the stomach. After line of transactions, it was clear that someone had betrayed them. You can get 4 first-class tickets from Chicago to Dubai. He was so rude that he wouldn't even fly in economy. No, the money I gave had to buy seats that could be opened up and used as beds. Met and Shandon champagne are served all night, and chefs who have won Michelin stars make the menus. March 15th, 11:17 p.m. There are 8 full nights booked at the Burj Al Arab Hotel. On my old computer, I quickly found that hotel. The base room rate was $1,200 per night. $1,200. There was even more Michael had booked, like a suite with views of the Persian Gulf and a butler who would be there 24 hours a day. That was more than my whole monthly pension. Then there were the extra services and things I bought, which hurt like knives. 2 p.m. as of March 15th, Nathan Outlaw can be found at the Almera restaurant. $2,400. I looked for the spot. A restaurant in the hotel that was underwater. Sharks swam by the glass walls while lobster and caviar were served. One meal cost more than 2 months' worth of food. 10 a.m. on March 16th. It cost $3,500 for this spa. Spa treatments like hot stone massages, 24-karat gold body wraps, and caviar facials can be booked for 4 people. For 6 months, I washed my dishes with the same old sponge because I didn't think it was worth the money to buy a new one. Things that cost more than my rent were being put on. 7 p.m. Chick Pure, $1,900, on March 16th. Another fancy dinner, this time at a restaurant on stilts over the water. 11 a.m. $2,800 for Gucci at Dubai Mall on March 17th. Of course, the first theft wasn't enough. Now, they bought designer clothes with my money too. I thought about how Linda chose a purse that cost as much as 6 months' worth of food for me. 4 p.m. $400 for Aqua Venture Water Park on March 17th. The best seats in the house at Dubai's most popular water park. You couldn't even get a regular ticket. The 18th of March at 8 p.m. at Gold on 27 restaurant costs $2 or $100. Another meal. While I thought about whether I had enough money to buy fresh fruit that week, the list kept going. $800 for a fancy safari in the desert. The Gold Souk and Pesto dollars are $900 trips to Abu Dhabi that are just for you. It was like he was telling me that my life, health, and future didn't matter every time he bought something. It added up to $35,240. I remember this number like it's a tattoo on my brain. It was more than just money, that amount. It took place because Sarah had been living in terrible poverty for 3 years after her mother died. For 3 years, I only bought the store's cheapest brands. I didn't turn on the heat until it hurt my bones for 3 years. Since 2010, I've worn the same coat, not bought any new clothes, and fixed my torn socks every 3 years. Friends from the factory asked me to have a beer, but I turned them down for 3 years because I needed every penny. What was the point of giving up everything? So my son could take a nice trip with his new wife's family. Mark and Linda could then tell their wealthy friends that their son-in-law took them to 7-star hotels. I took another look at the picture. This time, I made myself look at it more carefully, hoping to find something useful. Michael was wearing brand new Ray-Bans that I think he paid for with my money. His swim trunks had a clear Versace logo on them. Clean white bathrobes from the hotel had the famous gold Burj Al Arab logo sewn on the chest. Mark looked smug as he held his champagne glass. It was a look he had practiced for years. Linda smiled a lot, and her white teeth looked great in the sun. They both looked great, and I'm sure they got them from fancy tanning beds before the trip so they wouldn't look too pale in Dubai. Nicole, on the other hand, finally caught my eye. You could see her face, even though she was a little out of the main frame. The other people didn't show what I saw. Pain. She turned her head away. She seemed to be pulling out a fake smile. Even though it was a subtle look, I knew what it meant because I had watched people at work for years. Did she know that she stole the money for this trip? Michael told her I gave my permission, but did he lie? Or did she not care where the money came from as long as she could enjoy the treat? My phone buzzed because I had a message. It was Michael. When I began the conversation, my heart was beating fast. Dad? You didn't answer the phone when I called. Is everything okay over there? I'll call you when I get back next week. Hugs. Next week. 5 more days of taking my money before he even thought about talking to me. Everything okay over there? Was the last straw. Even though he robbed me and made me look bad in public, he seemed to really care about my well-being. It was almost like my fingers were on their own as they moved across the keyboard. I wrote 3 answers and then erased them. The first one was a painful and angry scream. The second was a sad plea to tell him I didn't deserve what he did. The third was a clear threat to go to court. I didn't send any of them though in the end. I feel like something is inside me. Perhaps my last shred of honor told me not to show my cards just yet. If Michael thought I didn't know anything and that he could come back and just say he didn't understand the card, he was very wrong. The person called, but I didn't answer. I put the phone down and switched on my computer. Family fraud lawyer Chicago is what I typed into Google. A lot of things happened. I spent 2 hours reading reviews and making sure I remembered everything I could about each company that looked like it could do the job well. While I was researching, I came across something that made me feel incredibly happy. It is illegal in Illinois to use someone else's credit card without their permission, even if that someone is a family member. This is known as fraud or misappropriation. Theft could lead to big fines or jail time, depending on how much was taken. It was clear that $35,000 was a lot of money. Aside from that, I learned that I could press charges against him even though he was my son. The prosecutor's office could still go ahead with the case even if I changed my mind later. After reading this, I felt strong again, which wasn't the case since I got that first bank notice. I found the right name for a lawyer. For more than 20 years, Robert Evans Moore had worked as a criminal and civil lawyer. On his website, he showed cases of family fraud, getting assets back, and settlements that worked. People who had worked with him before said good things about how careful, smart, and kind he was to victims. I called his office right away. The front desk worker was nice and told me that Robert could see me the following Wednesday, March 19th. At 10 a.m., I said yes right away. I didn't sleep well that night. When I closed my eyes, that picture kept coming back to me. I kept hearing, "They deserve a vacation." You don't, as I tried to fall asleep. But I was different now. I no longer just felt pain or betrayal. The strength of will. When my son thought I wasn't smart, he did something very wrong. He believed that his old and poor father would take this shame without fighting because he was too scared or weak to do so. He was about to find out he was wrong. I woke up at 6 in the morning. On March 19th, but I had been awake since 4 a.m. It kept me up all night because I was scared. The water in my shower was warm. To save money on gas, I carefully shaved in front of the foggy bathroom mirror. I also put on my favorite suit, a navy blue one I bought for Michael's wedding in 2012. Now the suit was a bit too big for me. I didn't really notice that I had lost weight over the last few years. I was almost gaunt because I had cut back on food to save money and was always stressed about living on a small pension. If Sarah had seen me like this, she would have been scared. I left the house at 9. It only took me 20 minutes to walk to Robert Evans's office, but I needed some time to gather my thoughts so I wouldn't forget anything important. It had all of my bank statements, a screenshot of my conversation with Michael, and a picture of Dubai in it. Along with that, I had written down a full list of events in order. The office was in a nice but not very fancy building on Michigan Avenue. I took the elevator to the 3rd floor and saw a gold plaque that said Evans and Associates, Lawyers. The welcome was serious. The walls were cream color, the furniture was dark wood, and there were diplomas in frames on the walls that showed how long the business had been open. Patricia, who worked at the front desk, smiled at me in a businesslike way. The name tag on her said she was 40 years old. "Hey there, Mr. Miller. You should talk to Mr. Evans. Please come with me." Robert Evans was around 55 years old. He wore glasses with thin frames and neatly combed gray hair. His suit cost more than all of my furniture put together. He shook my hand, though, and it felt strong and warm. He cared a lot, as his brown eyes showed. "Mr. Miller, please sit down. Patricia called you and talked for a short time about what was going on. Someone close to me stole money from my credit card. I'm so sorry this is happening to you." His voice was calm and steady. "Tell me exactly what took place." For an hour, I told him the whole story. I didn't forget anything. I told him that I had raised Michael and had to give up money to pay for his schooling. I also told him that our relationship had changed since he married Nicole and that I had given him my credit card information. I gave him a full copy of every document, screenshot, and transaction. Robert wrote down lots of important things on his laptop and sometimes asked very specific questions. "What did you do? Did you write it down or call him?" There was talk that he would only use it in emergencies. Do you have any proof of that? From Dubai, has Michael tried to get in touch with you? When I got to the part about the picture that said they deserve a vacation and you don't, Robert stopped typing and looked at me. Mr. Miller, that is not only an admission of using it without permission, but it also shows that you meant to do harm. This part of the case is very important. He kept making it clear what the law said. The fraud that happened was a very bad crime that happened because of a breach of trust. In Illinois, this is against the law and people who do it can spend 1 to 6 years in jail. It's more than $35,000, which is still a lot of money. The relationship and the intentional breach of trust are the things that make things worse. I leaned back in my chair and thought about how my son should go to jail for what he did to me. A dark part of me felt good about the thought, but a painful part of me shrank back as I thought of the boy he had been. Robert could tell I wasn't sure what to do. Mr. Miller, I know this is hard for you. Even though he's your son, please understand something very important. Michael did more than just make a mistake or pick the wrong thing. It's a really bad crime. He doesn't feel bad about what he did, as shown by the message he sent. He thinks it's okay to make fun of you in public. He was right the whole time. What do I have to do? I asked in a rough voice. Robert fixed his glasses. We can go in 2 main ways. The first is the path of crime. We tell the Chicago Police Department what's going on. It's up to the district attorney to decide if charges should be brought. What will happen in court? Your son might have to go to jail and pay back the money. This process could take between 1 and 2 years to finish. He took a short break before continuing. The second choice is faster, but your son needs to help you. A civil suit and a formal letter demanding the money back right away. If he agrees, we can make a payment plan that is protected by the law. We are ready to go to court if he doesn't agree or doesn't follow through. All the paperwork is ready. What do you think? I asked. Robert put his hands on the desk and leaned forward. Because of 2 things, I really believe you should begin with the demand letter, Mr. Miller. To begin, it's simpler to get your money back, which I know is important to you right now. Second, it gives your son a chance to make things right before the police show up. We will have more proof that he doesn't care about your rights if he doesn't answer the notice or doesn't care about it. This will make the criminal case much stronger. The reasoning made sense. How much do you charge for your work? The answer scared me. It wasn't cheap to hire a good lawyer, and I didn't have much cash on hand to get through the month. My usual fee is $3,000 up front plus a share of the money that is recovered. He looked at my face and put up his hand. I do something different when there is clear family abuse and money problems, like you have. You can give me $1,000 up front, or you can pay it off over 3 months and add 10% of the total amount you get back. That $1,000 is only due if we don't get anything back, which is not likely based on the evidence. It was too much for me to pay, but it was fair and necessary. I agree with your rules. Robert smiled at me for the first time since I walked into his office. Good. We'll start right away. I'm going to write a very clear demand letter in it. We'll keep track of everything, look at the laws that apply, and give your son 5 business days to figure out how to repay the loan. If he doesn't answer or if his answer isn't good enough, we will file both the civil suit and the criminal complaint at the same time. For another half hour, we talked about some more specifics. Robert had me sign a contract for legal help and a power of attorney, which gave him the right to speak for me in court and with banks. He also told me what to do next. Mr. Miller, I need you to do something very important. Ask the bank to block that card for good and give you a new one with a different number. Your bank password should all be changed, and 2-step verification should also be set up. Your son can't use any other account or money source. I told him that I had asked for the block the day I learned about the transactions. Good. That means you're working hard, which is good. Now, a question that needs to be asked but is also delicate. Does your will or some other paper list your son as an heir or beneficiary? The question caught me off guard. Yes, I left Michael everything in a simple will I wrote 10 years ago. This apartment, my savings account, and my cover in case I die. Robert gave an important nod. You should change that will right away. If you don't want to completely cut him off from your estate, at least name other people who will get it. That's when I've seen sons keep taking advantage of their parents' money because they know they'll get everything when their parents die. What he said hurt me a lot. That's something I never thought of before. Michael must have thought that after I died, everything would be his and he could steal from me and make me look bad. I said with a strong voice that I would make the changes that needed to be made. I left Robert's office at 11:30 in the morning. It was the first time since the call from the bank that I felt really energized. I didn't feel like a helpless victim. I had a plan. I worked with someone. I had proof that couldn't be thrown out. I did exactly what Robert told me to do and walked to the bank. To get a new card with different numbers, I asked for one. I added all of the extra safety measures that were possible. I changed my passwords so Michael would never be able to figure them out. That evening, I ate a bowl of cheap, hearty lentils in my kitchen and thought about everything I had done that day. In a few days, Michael would get the demand letter. After that, the real fight would begin. My phone rang. Michael wrote another message. "Dad, is everything still okay? You still haven't answered me. We'll be back on Sunday. Then let's talk." I did answer this time, but it was only 2 words. "Then we'll talk." He didn't know that a storm was coming. Sunday, March 22nd. At dawn, it was cloudy and cold, just like a winter in Chicago that never ends. Like always, I got up early, made my watery coffee, and sat by the window in my small living room, following the plan I had made from the bank transactions. Around 3 p.m., Michael and the Sanders were supposed to get to O'Hare Airport. Robert texted me the night before to let me know that the demand letter was ready and would be sent to Michael's house on Monday morning by certified mail. That was when I knew the real moment of truth would happen. Michael had forgotten that the hotel would not take his credit card when he checked out. Robert and I knew exactly what would happen in this scene. There were strict rules about how to pay at the Burj Al Arab because it is one of the world's most expensive hotels. Extra things I bought during my stay were charged to a master account, which I had to settle before I could leave. Since last Tuesday, my card has been blocked. A lot of money would still be owed on that account. It looked like they had about $14,000 left based on how much I saw them spend. It includes extra meals, spa treatments, a minibar, room service, and tips that are automatically added to the bill. The hotel wouldn't let them leave until they paid off that debt. Dubai time is 10 a.m., which is 2 p.m. in the United States. This is a normal time for luxury hotels to check out. I could picture the scene almost like a movie. Michael at the reception desk, surrounded by Louis Vuitton suitcases that I bought with my money, confidently handing over the card, the clerk running it through the terminal, the awkward pause, the second attempt, and the receptionist's polite but worried look. "Sorry, sir, but the card has been declined. Do you have a different way to pay?" At 10:23 a.m., my phone rang. Michael was there. I saw the screen shaking on the kitchen table, and his name kept flashing. I let it ring 5 times before I picked up. I wanted him to feel that growing fear, that first real panic. "Yes." My voice was calm, like I was bored. "Dad, I'm glad you picked up." Michael's voice got tense that quickly, and he always spoke in a high-pitched tone when he was nervous. "Your card has a problem, Dad. We're at the hotel trying to check out, but the card won't work. Could the bank have accidentally stopped it? Could you call them and let them know it's okay to charge you?" I slowly drank my coffee before I answered. "Michael, the card isn't blocked by accident." There was a short but heavy silence. "What do you mean?" "It's not an error. I need this fixed right away, Dad. In 5 hours, we have to catch a flight." I said in a calm voice that even surprised me that I asked for that card to be permanently blocked last Tuesday. Right after I got a message from the bank saying that $35,240 had been taken from my account in Dubai without my permission. There was complete silence after that. I could hear background noise, people talking in Arabic and English, the sound of luggage being moved, and the echo of a fancy hotel lobby, but Michael didn't say anything. I kept going, and my voice got sharper in a way I didn't know I had. I also got a very interesting picture from a swimming pool. A picture of you, your wife, and your in-laws raising a glass of champagne with a message that really stuck with you. They need a break. And you don't. Does that sound like something you know, son? "Hey, Dad. I can help." His voice had turned begging and hopeless. "Michael, there's nothing to explain. You used my card without my permission to pay for the Sanders' expensive vacation. You spent what I saved in 3 years of hard work in 8 days. And then you had the nerve to make fun of me in public. Now you have to deal with the results. Each word sounded like a piece of ice. But Dad, we can't get out of here. We can't leave the hotel until we pay $14,000. $14,000. I don't have that much money right now. I can only spend $5,000 on my credit card. What should I do? The irony was great. What should you do? You ought to be able to figure it out on your own, since they look like they deserve a break. You need to learn not to take things from your own father, though. On the other end, I could barely make out a cry. I then heard Mark and Linda asking what was going on in the background. Michael talked to them in whispers, probably to hide how bad things really were. Dad, please. He was crying out loud now. You can't do this to us. Nicole is here. They are here with her. This is way too embarrassing. Do you know how silly we look in front of everyone at the hotel? Not good? I raised my voice for the first time. Michael, do you want to talk about being made fun of? I want to talk to you about being made fun of. It looks bad when you eat stale bread to save $3 on food while your son spends $2,000 on one meal. When your son spends $3,000 on Gucci bags, you look bad in patched up clothes and torn socks. It's embarrassing to have to work 2 jobs for 4 years to pay for college. You can rob me and make fun of me in public 30 years from now, but that hurts my health and my future. I didn't mean to hurt you, Dad. Linda and Mark had talked about going to Dubai for a long time. Nicole was very pleased. I believed I could slowly repay you so you wouldn't notice. The choice was bad, but it wasn't done on purpose. He was really good at explaining things that didn't make sense. Not mean. After that, talk about what the picture means. Explain why those mean words were not meant to hurt. That was I was drunk. During lunch, Linda was telling you that you had never been anywhere interesting. How short and simple your life was. I was mad at her, but I didn't show it. I don't know, Dad. It was stupid and unforgivable. I'm so sorry. The excuses kept coming, and each one was worse than the last. But the admission that wasn't meant to be there really caught my attention. Linda was making fun of my life in front of my son, and he didn't defend me. Instead, he made fun of her comments in public. Michael, I'm sorry, but it doesn't matter now. On Monday, my lawyer will send you a firm demand letter. He talks about what the law says I can do and how you can pay back the money you stole. I believe you should read it very carefully. Lawyer. That's not possible, Dad. I'm your child. Are you really going to court over this? Either we agree or the court says I have to get back every penny you stole from me. You pick. Mark picked up the phone. He talked in the same cocky way that had made him successful in business for decades. This is Mr. Miller, Mark Sanders. Things seem to have gone too far in this case. There must have been a misunderstanding about how to use your card to be nice and make things right. I'm ready to pay for the hotel myself so that we can all get back to the US without a fight. Then we can all talk about how to solve the problem in a fair way. It was unbelievably brave. Mr. Sanders, there is no mistake. My son took $35,000 out of my account and mostly spent it on you. That theft was done by both you and your wife. Having used services that were paid for with money that was stolen. You can settle the hotel bill if you want to. That doesn't change the fact that I want all $35,000 back plus interest. You are acting in a totally irrational way. Mark's voice had turned scary and cold. My son-in-law made a small mistake, but taking him to court and making this a big legal story will hurt your son's next job. Are you really ready to end his marriage and his job because of this? When I said Mr. Sanders, I was firm because I had been holding back my anger for years. My son ruined our relationship when he robbed me and made fun of me. He is fully responsible for what goes wrong because he made that choice. His criminal behavior will hurt his marriage and career. I hung up the phone before they could answer. Maybe my hands were shaking because I wasn't scared or sure of what to do. It was just rush of adrenaline. For the first time in years, I fully defended myself. What I would not do was made clear. I proved that I was strong. The phone rang right away. I didn't pay attention to Michael again. He called 6 more times in the next 15 minutes. It was then that the messages came. Thank you very much. I promise to pay you quickly and this will never happen again. I read them all without feeling anything and didn't answer any of them. At 1 p.m., I got a call from a number I didn't know that had an area code from the Emirates. I thought about it for a second before I replied. A woman with a British accent named Mr. David Miller. The account management team at the Burj Al Arab is here. I go by the name Layla Hassan. People from the United States who are staying with us have asked if you could help them pay their bill. They took my payment information without my permission, even though I said Miss Hassan. That card is no longer valid, and I'm not going to pay for any charges that come up during their stay. I get it, sir. I just wanted to make sure everything was okay. The guests will stay on our property until we get the last $14,300. We did what was expected of us and told the U.S. Embassy what was going on. Thanks for telling me. They are completely to blame. After I hung up the phone, I made a simple lunch of canned soup and an apple. While I ate, I thought about what I had done. Since I couldn't pay my son's debt and was afraid of being shamed in public, I left him alone in another country. I couldn't help but wonder if I had gone too far. I thought about the picture though. I thought of the mean message. I thought back to all the years we were apart and how angry I was. I thought about how he always put Sanders ahead of his own dad. I hadn't gone too far, no. I was just getting going. For the next 48 hours, Michael tortured me with my phone. The calls kept coming over and over again. Afternoon on Sunday, every half hour, evening, every hour, and morning on Monday, every 30 minutes. I didn't pay attention to anyone. I felt many different things after reading the messages. They began by pleading. Dad, please. Let's talk. I had a bad dream. In the lobby of the hotel, we're sound asleep. We can't get out or into the rooms. They were in a bad spot after that. In Dubai, they called the police. We could go to jail for lying about how much we owe. Do you want another country to jail your son? After that, they were mad. Power is being abused here. You're a mean old man who can't stand it when your son is happy. In the end, they tried to beg again. I'll give you back all of your cents. In honor of my mother, I promise. Help us leave, please. I almost replied when I read that last message, where he had the nerve to use Sarah's name. But Robert had told me very strongly to keep quiet until the official demand letter arrived. He told us that any communication before the deadline could be seen as an openness to talking things out informally, which would make our case weaker in court. On Monday, March 23, at 9 a.m., Robert called me to say that the courier had tried to bring the notice to Michael's house. There was no answer, of course, because everyone was stuck in Dubai. Someone said they would try again the next day in a note left by the delivery person. Robert said, perfect, meaning well done on the job. When he finally gets it, he won't be able to say he was caught off guard. This is official proof of our attempt at formal communication. Nicole called me that afternoon. Since everything went crazy, it was the first time she had talked to me directly. Her voice was tired and broken. Mr. Hey, Miller, it's Nicole. I know you have every right to be angry with Michael, but please remember that I had nothing to do with this decision. Michael said you said it was okay to use the card. If I had known the truth, I never would have agreed to come. Her tone sounded real, and for a moment I felt sorry for her. Did you really think that I would have happily given away $35,000 for a luxury vacation for your parents, even though my pension is so small? There was a long break. Michael told me he got a special bonus at work. He told me he wanted to use some of that money and borrow the rest from you. That you had agreed because you were happy to see him do well. I trusted him. I'm a fool. I understand. Was the message on the picture also Michael's idea? Making it look like I had given permission for public ridicule. I didn't see that message until Michael put it up. He told me it was a joke between the two of you when I asked him about it. Something about how you both find things funny. Mr. Miller, I'm starting to see that my husband has lied to me about a lot of things. You could hear the anger in her voice when she said my husband. It's possible that Michael really did trick Nicole into doing something. Or maybe she was a great actress trying to protect her husband. I didn't know what to believe about anyone who was close to my son anymore. Mrs. Miller. I used her married name on purpose. Thanks for calling, but my answer is still the same. Your husband did something very bad. The consequences will follow the law as it is written. She said quickly that her parents got an emergency loan to pay off the hotel bill. Like that information could change anything. Because it's an express loan with no collateral, they're charging us 18% interest every year. We will be in debt for a long time. Isn't that enough punishment? I don't get to decide what the punishment is. It is also not my job to fix the natural results of bad choices. Your husband made this choice. He has to walk it all the way to the end now. I felt both happy and sad when I hung up. I was happy because I was standing my ground. Sadness because all of this meant that the father-son relationship we used to have was over for good. Robert told me on Tuesday the 24th in the afternoon that Michael had finally made it to Chicago. The Sanders had gotten the emergency loan, paid for the hotel, and taken the first flight they could find. Robert said in a voice that was almost happy, "Now comes the interesting part. He'll get our notice as soon as he gets home, and he'll have to read it without the protection of being far away." Robert's demand letter was a work of art in terms of legal accuracy and psychological pressure. It was 7 pages long and full of information. It started with a formal heading and a formal request for payment for the misuse and theft of a financial instrument. Then it went on to list every single transaction, including the date, time, place, and exact amount. Every restaurant, every purchase, and every service were all recorded with bank reference numbers and authorization codes. When the theft was shown in such clinical detail, it was impossible to deny or downplay how big it was. The third section made a lot of references to the Illinois laws that were relevant. Fraud that is worse than normal, circumstances that make it worse to break a family trust, and misappropriation. Each citation had the right punishments, which could include prison time of 1 to 6 years, fines that were proportional to the crime, and the possibility of losing your job. Section 4 went into detail about the specific requests. Full payment of $35,240 plus legal interest calculated from the date of each transaction, for a total of about $36,500. It also included costs that had already been paid and those that were expected to be paid. When Robert read it to me, I liked the fifth part the best. It set up 2 options that were very different from each other. Option A: the defendant has 5 business days from the date they get this notice to suggest a voluntary restitution plan. There must be a specific payment schedule, real collateral or bank guarantees, and a notarized promise to follow through with this plan. If you choose this option, you won't have to go to court right away. Option B: if the defendant doesn't respond by the deadline or if the plaintiff and his lawyer don't think the response is good enough, we will file both a civil suit for execution and a criminal complaint with the Chicago District Attorney's Office at the same time. This action will also ask for a preventive lien on the defendant's bank accounts and other assets. The last part was a psychological masterstroke. There were color copies of the pooled picture with its cruel message, screenshots of the conversations where Michael said he would only use the card in an emergency, and a detailed look at how the spending pattern showed that the fraud was planned ahead of time. My phone was so busy on Wednesday, March 25th, at 11 in the morning that it literally exploded. Michael had gotten the message. Every 2 minutes, the calls came in. The messages were crazy and hard to understand. 6 pages of legal papers. Are you kidding? A lien on my accounts from the district attorney. This is crazy, Dad. I didn't say anything for 3 hours while he vented. I wanted him to feel completely helpless, like he was screaming into the void and not getting any answers. Just like I had felt for years. When my emotional and financial needs were consistently ignored. Robert got an email from Michael's lawyer at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Fernando Diaz was his name. His signature made it clear that the message was friendly but written by someone who knew his client didn't have a strong case. Dear Mr. Evans, my esteemed colleague. In the reference matter, I speak for Mr. Michael Miller. My client admits that there was a big misunderstanding about how to use his father's credit card. He is open to talking about fair terms for paying back what he owes. Can we set up a time to meet and talk about options that work for both of us? Robert read the email to me over the phone. His tone was clearly funny. Pay attention to the words. Not stealing, but misunderstanding. Terms that are fair instead of full repayment. This lawyer knows he's going to lose and is trying to limit the damage. What should we say? I asked. Not a thing. But we'll make them wait until tomorrow. Let Michael stay up all night again, wondering what we'll do. Anxiety is our ally right now. That night, for the first time in weeks, I slept well. I had a dream about Sarah. In the dream, She held my hand and said, "You did the right thing, my love." Sometimes, true love means being strict with someone. I felt completely clear when I woke up on Thursday morning. There was no way to go back. There would be no easy way to make up. If that day ever came, Michael would have to work hard for every bit of forgiveness. And to be honest, I wasn't sure it would ever happen. Thursday, March 26th, was the day that everything changed for good. Robert had set up a meeting in his office for 4 p.m. with Michael's lawyer, Fernando Diaz. I was supposed to get there half an hour early to go over the plan and make sure we stayed completely firm. I noticed something strange while I was getting ready that morning. I was shaving in front of the rusty bathroom mirror. The man I saw in the mirror was different from the one I had seen 2 weeks ago. That look of defeat and the way my shoulders slumped showed years of silent acceptance. Now my eyes had a hard, determined look in them. My back was straight. I looked like someone who had finally gotten back his dignity. I got to Robert's office right on time at 3:30, and he had everything ready on his desk. There were copies of the demand letter, full bank statements, a detailed timeline of events, and a new document that I had never seen before. Robert pushed the paper toward me and said, "David, I need to show you something before they get here. I've been looking into Michael's money problems through legal means that are open to me. This is information that anyone can see from business registries and corporate filings." The paper showed that Michael made $45,000 a year before taxes and deductions at his consulting firm, which is about $2,800 a month after taxes and deductions. He had a $320,000 mortgage on his condo, which he paid $1,200 a month for. He also paid $450 a month for an Audi A4 that he financed. Robert said that after paying for his basic needs and fixed costs, Michael has about $600 a month left over. If we take that extra money, it would take almost 5 years to pay back the $36,500 with interest. 5 years. The number stuck in my head. And what if he gets the money from somewhere else? For example, the Sanders. Robert shook his head. "I really don't think so. A business contact of mine told me that Mark and Linda are very angry with Michael. It was embarrassing for them to have to get an emergency loan in Dubai. If they pay 18% interest on $14,000 every year, they'll end up paying about $18,000 in 3 years. And it was all because their son-in-law was a bad thief. Those family ties are completely broken." I leaned back in the chair and thought about what I had just learned. Michael had ruined his relationship with me and with his beloved in-laws at the same time. The irony was almost like poetry. Patricia said over the intercom at 3:55 that Fernando Diaz and his client had arrived. Robert looked me right in the eye. "Keep your cool at all times. Michael says, show no emotion. We are pure ice." They went into the conference room next to the main office. Fernando Diaz was in his 50s and wore a perfect gray suit. He also carried a worn leather briefcase that showed he had been working for a long time. Michael came after him. I wasn't ready for how seeing my son would affect me after everything that had happened. Michael looked like he had gotten 10 years older in 2 weeks. His clothes were wrinkled like he had slept in them, and he had deep, dark circles under his eyes. His eyes were puffy and red. His face fell apart when he saw me, and he started to cry. "I'm sorry, Dad. I'm really sorry. I made the biggest mistake of my life. I'm sorry. Please." He lunged at me to give me a hug. I instinctively moved away and stayed away. "Michael, sit down." Even to my own ears, my voice sounded strangely cold. Fernando cleared his throat, which made him feel bad. "Mr. Miller, David, I want to start by saying that my client is very sorry for what he did. He fully admits that he did something wrong and is willing to make up for it by agreeing to a reasonable deal." Robert talked before I could say anything. "We appreciate that your client, Mr. Diaz, admits to his crimes. But the word inappropriate makes what happened seem much less serious. We are talking about aggravated misappropriation that happened because of a breach of family trust. It wasn't a small mistake. It was a planned crime that took place over the course of 8 full days." Fernando opened his briefcase and took out a document that was ready. "I get where you're coming from. That's why we've come up with a specific plan for restitution." He pushed the paper across the table. "My client is willing to pay back the $35,240 in monthly payments of $500 for 70 months. He also agrees to write a public apology and not talk to David during the payment period unless David gives him permission. I looked at Robert, who shook his head almost imperceptibly. It had been 70 months, almost 6 years, and I hadn't even included the legal costs or interest that had already been paid. Robert said firmly that the proposal is not enough. It doesn't include the legal interest, which is already about $1,260. It doesn't cover the $3,000 in legal fees my client has already paid, and 70 months is too long of a time frame, which means my client is taking all the risk of default. Michael stepped in, his voice breaking. "Dad, that's all I can give you. I can't make my salary go any further. The loan I took out in Dubai is already making me broke. After paying my mortgage, car, food, and basic utilities, I only have $500 left over each month." I replied with a coldness that surprised even me, "Then you should have thought about those consequences before you robbed me." Robert pulled out his own document and said, "I have a counter-proposal. $39,500 in full, which includes $36,500 in damages and $3,000 in legal fees. Payments of $700 every month for 60 months. If he misses 2 payments in a row, the whole balance is due right away, and we will start taking his assets through the legal process. In addition, David Miller will be formally taken off as a beneficiary from any will, life insurance policy, or bank account where Mr. Michael Miller has named him. And finally, a clear waiver of any future inheritance from Mr. David Miller's estate." It was so quiet after that you could cut it with a knife. Michael looked at the paper like it was a death sentence for him. Fernando frowned and did some quick math in his head. Fernando said, "It's not possible to pay $700 a month. Based on the financial analysis we've done, my client doesn't have that much money on hand." I suggested, without any emotion, that he sell the Audi and buy a used car that costs less. That would give you $450 a month. Let him eat out less, have less fun, and travel less. Let him live like I've lived for 3 years with very little. I'm sure he'll figure it out. That means I won't have any money for 5 years, Dad. No savings, so no room for emergencies. Nothing. Michael's voice shook. I said, "Welcome to my world. That's how I've been living since your mom died. No margin, no safety, and counting every penny. The difference is that I wasn't 38 and had a steady job. I was 60 and had a terrible pension." Fernando tried a different approach. "David, I get that you're hurt and angry, but this counterproposal would completely cut off your only son. Do you really want to end your relationship with your family for good?" Before I could say anything, Robert stepped in with a sharp voice. "Mr. Diaz, your client ended the family relationship when he stole from his father and then made fun of him in public. Mr. Miller is just making what his son did to him legally official." Michael started crying again, this time with deep sobs that shook his whole body. "Please, Dad. Please don't do this to me. I know I don't deserve your forgiveness, but please give me a chance to win back your trust in the future. Signing this means I'm saying I'll never be able to be with you again." Seeing my son like this broke something inside me. I thought of the little boy who would run to me when I got home from work. The teen who asked me for help with his first girlfriend. The young graduate who hugged me and cried with joy. The memories were very different from what I see now. A grown man who had hurt me in the worst way possible. Finally, I said, "Michael," in a softer voice but just as firm. "Accept the consequences of your actions now if you really want to have a chance in the future. Show that you understand how big what you did was by what you do, not what you say. Pay back every dollar you took. You have to live with the money problems your crime caused. And maybe, just maybe, we can talk about rebuilding something in 5 years, when you have completely fulfilled your duty." "But the disinheritance," he asked, his voice barely audible. "It's permanent," I proved. "The reason being I need to protect myself from being manipulated in the future. You need to promise me that you will never use me as a money-making opportunity again." Fernando and Michael looked at each other for a long time. I could hear the argument they were having behind closed doors. Fernando finally spoke up. "We need 24 hours to consider this proposal and consult with the family. Robert said you have until 4 p.m. tomorrow. We will file the civil suit and criminal complaint on Monday morning if we don't get a positive answer by then." Michael turned around one last time as they were leaving the office. For a second, His face showed how completely broken he was. I wanted to call him back, hug him, and tell him that everything would be fine. But that urge went away when I thought about the picture in the pool and the mean things that went with it. Some breaks can't be fixed. You can only write them down and then deal with the results. The 24-hour deadline took forever to get here. I hardly ate the dinner I made that night. White rice with a fried egg. My stomach was all tied up. I wanted Michael to agree to the terms. Another part that was darker and more angry. I almost wanted him to say no so I could move forward with the whole criminal case. At 11 p.m. I got a text from a number I don't know. Linda, Nicole's mom, was there. Mr. Miller, this is Linda Price. We need to talk urgently about this situation. What you're doing is going to kill Michael and my daughter as well. She didn't do anything wrong. Can we get together tomorrow morning? That woman had a lot of nerve. For years, she had treated me with barely hidden contempt, as if I were a poor, illiterate peasant who had gotten lucky enough to have a child who was smart enough to rise in society. And now she wanted to meet with me, as if we were friends. I said quickly, I have nothing to talk to you about, Mrs. Price. This issue will be settled through the proper legal channels. The answer came right away. Be fair. Michael made a big mistake, but you are being too harsh. You will ruin his job, his marriage, and his whole life. What kind of dad does that? Those words sparked something in me. I wrote a long reply, deleted it 3 times, and then sent a shorter, more controlled version. For 4 years, Mrs. Price, you kept taking my son away from me. You made him someone who cares more about looks and luxury than honesty and family respect. You had a vacation that was paid for with money you stole from an old man who eats old bread to stay alive. Don't talk to me about being mean when you were part of humiliating me. This issue is over. I blocked the number right away, without waiting for a reply. It was gray and rainy when Friday, March 27th, began. I got up at 6 o'clock because I couldn't pretend I could sleep any longer. I made coffee and sat by the window to watch the rain hit the glass. I couldn't stop thinking about Michael's life, like his first day of school, his college graduation, and his wedding. I thought all those times were important for building a strong relationship between father and son. I now saw them as mirages or tricks of the mind. I had to keep going because I needed to believe that my sacrifice had been worth it. At 10 o'clock in the morning, Robert called. David, I just received an email from Fernando Diaz. Michael agrees to all of the terms outlined. He wants to sign the deal right now. It was weird to feel both relieved and empty at the same time. I felt better because I knew I would slowly get my money back. Feeling of emptiness because this meant that my relationship with my only son was over for good. When can we move forward? The signing will happen at 3 p.m. at the office of a notary. You need to bring your ID and the information for the bank account where Michael will deposit the daily payments. We will also bring certified copies of your current will to the notary so that the formal changes can be made. I spent the rest of the morning getting the important papers in order. The first copy of my will was in a manila envelope in the bottom drawer of my dresser. When I opened it, I saw that it was written in 2014. I trust that my only son, Michael Miller, will honor his mother's memory and take care of our family legacy with love and responsibility. I give him all of my money, properties, and investments. I was so naive. What a fool. The notary's office was in an old building in the Lincoln Park neighborhood. The marble stairs and solid wood doors were worn down. It took me 15 minutes to get there. Robert was already there going over papers with the notary, an older man named Mr. Arthur C. Riley, who seemed very serious about his job. The exact time Michael and Fernando got there was 3. This time, Nicole was with Michael as well. The tears in her eyes made her look very thin. She tried a weak smile when she saw me, but all it did was make her lips shake. We were seated by Mr. Riley around a big mahogany table. He started by going over the steps. We are going to make 2 separate legal documents official that are linked. First, an agreement for economic restitution backed by the law. Second, a change to the will that specifically leaves out an heir. He then read out loud the restitution agreement. It felt like a nail was being driven into a coffin with each clause. Michael Miller, who is in debt, agrees to repay the full amount of $39,500 by making 60 payments of $700 each, which must be made before the 5th of each month and sent to David Miller, who is the creditor. He went on to explain the consequences for not paying. If you don't make a payment for more than 30 days, you will be charged default interest of 25% per year on the outstanding balance. If someone doesn't make 2 payments in a row, the full amount due is due right away, and the creditor can seize the debtor's property, both moving and fixed, without having to get a court order first. Michael signed every page with a hand that was shaking. The look on his face told me he was a broken man. Nicole sobbed quietly in her chair and wiped her tears with a folded-up tissue. Then the change to the will came. Mr. Riley read. I, David Miller, fully aware of my own mental abilities and not being forced to do anything, hereby change my previous will to specifically leave out my son. If I die, I want Michael Miller to get any money, property, investments, bank accounts, life insurance policies, or other things I own. Dad, are you going to do this? Michael's voice was rough and thin, like a child's. In fact, not even anything symbolic. The pictures and ring from Mom do not belong to you. Mr. Riley coughed and cleared his throat. Mr. Miller, son, please let us finish the formal process, but Michael just couldn't hold back any longer. He stood up quickly and pushed his chair back. This makes no sense. I'm going to pay back every penny I spent. My finances will be terrible for 5 years. Is that not enough of a punishment? Do you also need to erase me from your life and your legacy? Fernando told Michael to sit down. He spoke in a professional but firm way. No, I want my dad to know what he's doing. This is not what Mom would have wanted. She always said that family was important, that mistakes are okay, and that love wins over everything. Michael looked at me like he was desperate. Dad, where is that love now? Did you kill it? Along with any good memories you have of me. What he said hurt me a lot. But Nicole spoke for the first time since we came in before I could answer. Mr. Miller, I loved my mother-in-law Sarah, even though I didn't know her very well before she died. Michael told me everything about her, how kind, generous, and able to forgive anyone. Are you sure that she would agree with what you're doing now? I could feel anger building up in my chest. If Sarah were still alive, don't use her name to defend anything. She would have kept Michael's morals in check, so he would never have done this. She's not here, though. She's not alive anymore. Michael didn't even come to say goodbye when she died because he was too busy making the Sanders happy. Don't tell me what Sarah would want. After that, there was a crushing silence. The last thing Mr. Riley said was in a soft voice. Ladies and gentlemen, I know you're all very upset, but please calm down so that we can finish this legal process correctly. Michael sat down again slowly. He didn't say a word as tears ran down his face. He seemed to have given up all hope. Mr. Riley continued, regarding personal possessions with sentimental value, like photographs or family jewelry, does Mr. David Miller wish to make any specification? I turned to Michael. I thought about Sarah's wedding ring, the photo albums we made together, and the love letters she wrote me when we were dating. Those things didn't cost anything, but they were worth a lot to me. I said that after I die, Sarah's pictures and personal things will go to the Chicago History Museum. I'd rather they be kept by an organization that values them historically than given to someone who didn't care about her memory. Michael made a noise that was somewhere between a sob and a groan. Nicole held him close as he fell against her shoulder. I signed the testamentary document with a steady hand. Mr. Riley put the official notary seals on everything, which made it legally binding and permanent without going through the full notary process again. Mr. Riley said that the process was finished. Within 5 business days, both sides will get certified copies of these papers. We got up to go. Michael caught up to me at the door of the notary's office and grabbed my arm. Dad, please tell me that there is a chance that we can fix this someday. Tell me that if I follow this agreement perfectly for 5 years, if I show that I've changed, and if I become the son I should have always been, there will be a chance for us. I looked him right in the eyes. I saw the kid I had raised. I saw the man who had let me down. I saw the huge gap between who he was and who he became. Finally, Michael, I said, this is all I can tell you. Do what you said you would do. Pay back every dollar you owe. You have to deal with the results of your choices. And if you still want to talk to me after 5 years, write me a letter. I promised to do nothing but read it. I pulled my arm away from him and walked out without looking back. The first payments came on time. The first deposit of $700 came into my bank account on April 5th. I looked at it 3 times because I couldn't believe it was really happening. $700. It was more money than I had seen in one deposit in years, not including my monthly pension. I did something I hadn't done in 3 years with that first payment. I went to the store and bought real food, like fresh meat instead of cheap cold cuts. Freshly baked bread instead of the day-old loaves that were on sale. After I put the groceries away, I sat in the kitchen and cried. It wasn't because I was sad, it was because I was so relieved that it hurt. The second payment came on May 5th. After the 3, on June 5th, I started to think that Michael would really keep his end of the deal. Robert would call me from time to time to make sure everything was legal. He was complying perfectly, he would say with professional approval, not a day late. That's not common in cases of family restitution. Most of them end up defaulting. Michael tried to get in touch with me several times in the first few months, even though there was a no contact clause. I deleted the text messages without reading them and automatically rejected the calls. I saw him at the grocery store in the neighborhood once, buying generic brands like I used to. We briefly made eye contact across the aisle of canned goods. He looked like he was going to say something, but I just turned around and left the store, leaving my cart halfway. In July, I got a certified letter from a different law firm. For a second, I thought Michael was trying to use the law to get out of the agreement, but when I opened it, I saw that it was a divorce notice. Nicole Sanders Price had asked for a divorce, saying that the marriage had broken down beyond repair and that trust had been lost. There was a handwritten note from Nicole to me in the letter. I thought I should tell you in person, Mr. Miller. I can't stay married to someone who can do what Michael did. It has been impossible to live the last few months. We are on the edge of poverty because he pays you every month. I sold everything of value, including my car and jewelry. I had to pay for the basics. After the embarrassment in Dubai, my parents wouldn't help us. Michael has 2 jobs now, coming home at midnight, tired and defeated. I don't know the man I married anymore. You might feel good about reading this. You might think it's fair. I just wanted you to know that you got your revenge. I read that note 5 times. I thought I would feel happy, proud, and satisfied that Michael was facing the full consequences of what he had done. But what I felt was a cold void. There was no winner in this, both sides lost. The 5th payment came 2 days late in August. I freaked out right away. Was Michael starting to fail? I called Robert, and he looked quickly. The delay was because the bank was busy over the weekend. The payment was made on the 5th, as planned, but it didn't show up in your account until the 7th. Not a technical default. That incident made me think of something scary. Those monthly payments were the most important thing in my life now. I was nervous as I waited for the 5th of the month. I kept checking my bank account. I mentally added up how many months were left, how much money Michael still owed me, and how much longer this forced connection between us would last. Thomas Hill, an old coworker from the factory, put together a gathering for retirees in September. I hadn't been to social events in years because I didn't have any money, but now that Michael's payments cover my basic needs and my pension is free for other things, I can afford to go out more often. We went to a small bar close to the old industrial area. 8 old guys drinking beer together.